Love and Watches is a podcast for male and female watch lovers alike. Ranch Racer and Perpetual Girl are a watch-crazy husband and wife team dedicated to bringing you the latest and greatest in the world of watches. We hope you enjoy the show. Hey, fellow watch lovers. Welcome to the very first episode of Love and Watches. I am Ranch Racer.
And this is Perpetual Girl.
And we are super excited to be here with you guys. Like I said, this is our first episode. We are brand new to podcasting, so you're going to have to excuse us as we kind of figure this out over the first few episodes. So, why another watch podcast? We know there's a bunch of watch podcasts out there, and I actually listened to quite a few of them. I've been listening to them for years. And really why we did this is there's really nothing out there for women, right? I mean...
Well, there's a lot of watches for women.
There's watches for women, but there's, in terms of podcasts and blogs, if you look at what's out there today, there's really not much for women, right? It's geared towards men. And as a married couple, I've been able to kind of watch you and kind of suffer through your frustrations with the fact that this market is really geared towards guys for the most part.
There's a very distinct separation between men's watches and women's watches, where mechanicals are large and masculine, and there aren't smaller versions made all the time. I'm not saying it never happens, but...
At least until recently.
Yeah. Or if it's a women's watch, it's got lots and lots of diamonds on it, and it's a quartz, so it's more what I would consider jewelry or a fashion piece.
It's bling. Yeah.
Right.
It's
and I have nothing against bling. A lot of women love bling. Personally, that's not what I like all the time. So I tend to gravitate towards a men's watch, and have seen lots and lots of beautiful men's watches that are 44 millimeter, and it's just on a small person.
It doesn't
just
work.
Huge.
And they're thick too. I mean, a lot of
thick, and they're heavy.
Thick, yeah.
They're heavy.
So that's kind of why we're here. We wanted to offer you guys not just another male-focused, perspective on watches, but we wanted to kind of give it to you from both sides. So you're going to get the male perspective from me, and you're going to get the female perspective from Perpetual Girl. So we'll talk a little bit about the format first. So our format is, we'd love to do this every week. I think it's going to be more like every couple of weeks to start, probably.
Because we're busy.
Yeah, get on. We have, rail jobs and stuff. So it'll probably be every couple of weeks to start with. We'll probably try to stick to around 30 minutes, although we might go a little bit over. We might go a little bit under. Today probably won't be 30 minutes because this is just to tell us about, to tell you about the podcast and why we're doing this. So that's kind of what the format's going to be. Pretty much any watch-related topic is going to be fair game. So we're going to talk about it all. So we kind of wanted to just give you guys a little background on us and why we're doing this. And we kind of told you why we're doing it, but who we are and what our backgrounds are. I started with watches really early on in life. I think my first watch was like a little Timex manual wind mechanical that my folks gave me when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. I don't have that one anymore, but actually I found one on eBay a couple years ago. So it's not working. It's one of my many open watch projects sitting on my bench unfinished at the moment, but hopefully one of these days we'll get it done. So that was my first watch. And I think, through like grade school and junior high and high school, even college, I always kind of wore a watch. It was just part of your normal daily routine back then. And, it's just something you did. We didn't have cell phones. I think I got my first, I don't know about you, PG, but I got my first cell phone when I was in college.
I was well out of college.
Yeah, you got some years on me, so. But yeah, we always just kind of had watches. So, but then, as cell phones got popular, like everybody else, eventually I stopped wearing a watch. I had the time on my cell phone, and I stopped wearing a watch and didn't really get back into it until I really got back into it 2 or 3 years ago, but starting when we got married, close to 20 years ago now, there was a website called One Sale a Day. Some of you guys might remember that. I think it's still around, but it's not even close to the same format. So One Sale a Day had a watch section, and it was exactly that. I had one watch that they offered every day, and I started buying them. They were just kind of basic quartz watches. I mean, they were analog.
Mechanical
right?
also.
Yeah, there were some mechanicals in there. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, there were some not many. Most of them were quartz, but there was a couple mechanicals in there. And then I really started getting heavy back into it 2 or 3 years ago, and our collection just kind of exploded. We started buying all different kinds of watches, which we'll talk about. Some of our podcasts, we're going to start covering our collections and what we have and why we have it. And by the way, we tend to be just buyers. We haven't sold anything yet. So anyway, that's my background. PG, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about why you're so into watches?
My first watch was a mechanical wind-up Snoopy, and loved that one. And I've always had watches, always worn them, and always had multiple watches.
How old were you when you got that Snoopy?
I was young. Probably 5.
Yeah.
Probably 5 years old, from Woolworth.
Yeah.
And found one. I can't locate my original one, but I found one on eBay.
Good old eBay.
And actually found one at my local flea market, which was pretty surprising.
Yeah, that's right.
So I've got one for spare parts if I need it, because spare parts are always good. But my family was really into clocks. I'm not so much into clocks because I don't like them making noise all the time and trying to sleep through that.
Yeah, when I first met Perpetual Girl, and by the way, in case you guys were wondering, those are not our real names. Okay, our parents weren't freaks. They didn't name me Ranch Racer and my wife Perpetual Girl. Those are obviously our Instagram handles. So you might find out what our names are one of these days, but right now we're just sticking with double R and PG. So sorry, I didn't really mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to tell the listeners that when we met and I went into your house, there were clocks everywhere, and they were going off all the time. I mean, the grandfather clocks and the cuckoo clocks, and it was a little crazy.
So maybe I have post-traumatic stress from that. So, but I do like watches, and I had them when we got married, and one of the first gifts you gave me was a small Bulova, very small, dainty quartz, which I still have and wear. But what else?
And that's probably it. I mean, you were a little bit more into watches than I was when we met.
Vintage, especially vintage watches. Like a few years ago, I bought the Bulova Miss America, the old Art Deco, a Miss America and a Miss Liberty, which are beautiful.
Actually, this is all your fault now that
I think so.
Now that I think about it, because you got that, and then we went shopping for some Bulovas. Like when we really started getting back into this, we were buying some Bulova quartz watches. So actually, yeah, this is all.
And you got really me into dive watches, and I love them.
Yep, yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about that today, actually. But,
and we have all brands of dive watches, and some of my favorites are Invicta.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, that's not their cup of tea, but my motto is love what you buy and buy what you love. And I got a really nice compliment on my Instagram account from, is it El Salvador Watch Guy?
Oh, that sounds familiar.
He made a really nice comment about the range of watches that I have, from Rolex to Invicta, and I think that's, I thought that was a really nice...
That's our printer in the background calibrating, if anyone was wondering.
Really nice comment. So I think that's kind of something that Ranch Racer and I want to point out, is that we like all different price range.
Discriminate.
We don't discriminate.
We will wear everything.
And we have
anything.
quartzes, and we have automatics, and we have wind-ups. And we have our tastes, of course.
We got it all. If you guys follow us on Instagram, you'll know that we got everything from like $50 quartzes to we've got some Rolexes and Omegas and that kind of stuff too. We just love it all, and we're going to talk about it all. We do not discriminate against really any kind of watch. I've tried a couple times against Invicta, but I even own an Invicta.
We have a his and her.
Yep.
I have a Donald that looks just like a Submariner, which I love, and I get a lot of compliments on it.
Yep.
And you have the Mickey, larger version of that.
And obviously, there was a reason we bought those, and we'll be covering that in another podcast. But so that's kind of where we are today. I started writing for, some of you guys might know about the Wristwatch Review, which is wristwatchreview.com. It's one of the oldest watch blogs on the internet. Yeah, I think it was founded back in like 2004 by John Biggs. So I started, when we get to our wrist check today, I'll talk a little bit more about that watch, but I started with a reader review many, many months ago, and then kind of joined the gang and started doing regular reviews on the site. So that's our background and who we are. And there's probably a bunch of stuff that we forgot, but I think we covered most of the important stuff when it comes to watches. So normally what we'll do with these podcasts, after you guys hear the really nice fancy intro with the music and everything that I'm going to dub into this, that hopefully you heard at the beginning of the podcast, we're going to kick it off with just kind of saying hi to everyone, letting you know what we've been up to, and then we'll do a regular wrist check. That seems to be the right thing to do if you don't know what we're wearing, or it doesn't make sense to do this, right? We're wearing a watch all the time. So I think we're going to go ahead and let's do the wrist check. PG, why don't you start?
Well, I'm wearing my Dan Henry 1970, and it's a 40 millimeter case. And this was actually a gift for my birthday
From who?
From you.
Yeah.
And I love it. It's a beautiful watch, and I like Dan Henry's story and his story about his collection and why he makes the watches. So if you don't know anything about Dan Henry, you should check him out online. And
what is his? I think it's like Dan Henry Collection is his personal collection on Instagram, right?
Right.
And then he's got Dan Henry watches, but the collection is crazy. I mean, he's got hundreds, probably thousands of vintage watches. It's amazing.
It's got a inner rotating bezel, and the band of orange, all the colors, lume, which I love lume. You'll learn that I love lume because I like to wear a watch when I sleep so that I know what time it is to get up in the middle of the night. I can check. So
Lume doesn't suck.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome.
We both love Lume. And that's the 1970 diver, right?
This is the 1970, and there's a 44 millimeter and a 40. This is the 40 that you had given me for my birthday. It comes in a really nice small travel roll-up case that fits inside a hard plastic case. So it's a whole package thing. It's great.
And it's actually a really good example of kind of the whole topic around the show, because he had the 44 and you really liked it, but I told you, I'm like, it's a 44, right? There's no, you can't pull off a 44. You have 6.5 inch wrists. It looks kind of crazy. So, I mean, as soon as I saw that 40, I ordered it, and Dan's awesome. If you have any issues with your watch, he basically just says, I'm going to ship you a new one. So we had I think it was one of the first early runs of the 40 millimeter. There were some issues with the sapphire crystal production, and yours cracked, and like another watch showed up a few days later. I mean, I emailed him, never heard anything, and then all of a sudden a new watch shows up. So he really cares about customer service. So, and I get
compliments on this watch when I wear it. It's great piece.
Well, yeah, and it looks kind of vintage, but it's got I think it's got an NH30, the Seiko NH35. So you have the date on there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool watch, and the neat thing is I can wear it too. Right?
We have a Toxic NATO strap on it.
Terry makes some killer straps.
Strap is a little bit long for me. It's a pretty big strap.
Another good example, right?
Where sometimes I feel like the ladies are left out. Yeah. So a lot of times when you look at a NATO strap, you only have one choice in length.
I know some of these. I know he's like, some of his straps he'll do custom lengths. So you just have to kind of look around, but you're starting to see that more. Mm-hmm. We ordered some straps, Eric's Originals, that we're waiting for, and those are all custom. You give her your wrist size, and she cuts them and makes them to fit. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, I think Dan Henry, he's got an awesome collection of watches, and the watches that he offers are super affordable, quartz and mechanical. And
versions of old watches that were very expensive in their day.
I forget the version, but if you go into his collection, you'll find...
You can see it.
You will literally find the one that looks just like the 1970 diver. And I don't remember what it is. I'll put it in the show notes, but just super cool.
And what are you wearing today?
All right, we're done with yours? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I am wearing the watch that kind of kicked it off for me in terms of being a blogger, I guess, a watch blogger and writing reviews. This is it's called the Helm Curaburi, and it's a 42 millimeter diver. Really cool story. I'm not going to get into the whole story about how it was founded, but definitely go check it out on Helm Watches. This was his second. I think this was Matt's second release. I'm looking here at this website. Yeah, his first one was the Vanuatu, which is also really cool. But the Kuraburi, when I first saw it with the one that I actually have is the black and orange bezel with the orange index markers, and it just really, or the orange minute track, and I just dug it. I mean, it's just a really, really cool diver. It is ISO certified. It's a full ISO certified diver, which I know Kuraburi is really proud of. So this one is on a bracelet, and it also came with, I think it came with a black
2 bracelets.
Oh, I ordered the Vanuatu bracelet with the end links, and that's a 5-link. This is more of like your kind of an oyster style 3-link, but the Vanuatu was a really nice 5-link. And
the 5-link is beautiful.
Man, it fits so good. Actually, now that I think about it, I might have to switch it out.
It's very handsome band.
Cool. Yeah, and it had different end links, so I had to order those end links. And actually, he's just done a new release of the Kuraburi. So,
what diameter is that?
This is a 42. So it's too big for you. You know, I think for you, 40 is max. For a dive watch, 40 is kind of the max. You know, that looks good, but you wouldn't want to go bigger than your Dan Henry 40. But anyway, so this is ISO 6425 compliant. So if you do want to dive with it, I'm just a dust diver, like 90% of the dive watch owners out there.
But you like to swim.
I do like to swim. This one goes on the boat, so it comes in just kind of a black and white version. The one I have is the black and orange, which just, I mean, for me, it just rocks it. I love orange on dive watches. It's really cool. And in his latest release, he's got a blue and white, so that it's got kind of like the first 15 minutes on the bezel are white with blue index markers, and then the rest of the bezel is blue with white numbering, and then a blue dial. And it looks pretty slick, but then I think kind of the one I would buy now, if I were going to buy it, it's the blue dial with blue and orange bezel. It just rocks it. It's
pretty.
Freaking awesome. I love that thing. I don't know. Might have to sell my black and orange and get a blue and orange one of these days. It's cool. But so yeah, anyway, and it came with another NATO. I think it was black and orange stripe NATO. So
yes.
Yeah.
Which looks really nice.
It's a super cool watch. I mean, I actually wear it quite a bit. It's comfortable. Kind of goes with a lot. I mean, it's very sporty. Obviously, it's a big, thick, beefy diver, so it's not something you're gonna, wear and let it slip under the cuff real nice. But for going out on the boat or weekends or any kind of sporty activity, I mean, it's awesome. So, all right, so that's the wrist check. So what do you guys have to look forward to? So number one, we're going to be really complete with our show notes. So we're going to put pics of the watches so you guys know what we're talking about. We will try to explain them, but we'll put links to the watches that we talk about. Anything else we talk about, we'll put pics. We really want to give you guys some good show notes to go with the show. But in terms of like future topics, please let us know. Let us know in the podcast notes. You can hit us up on Instagram at Love and Watches. That's the Instagram handle for the show. So that's LOVE, the letter N, watches, all one word. So Love and Watches. We are going to have a website, which actually by the time this podcast is released, the website will be up and running. So you might actually be accessing this from the website. So be patient with us. It's going to be a slow building process. I'm not a web guy, so it's going to take a while to build it up. But we have kind of a list of topics that we're going to go through with you guys. One of the really exciting ones coming up in May, I think, right, is Wind Up. Mm-hmm. So for those of you guys that don't know, Wind Up is kind of it's a micro brand show that's been around for 2-3 years now that the Worn and Wound guys put on. It's been in New York. We were stoked when they announced it was coming to San Francisco this year because we're just a couple hours north of San Francisco. So we're going to be at Wind Up for at least the first day, if not both, Saturday and Sunday. Actually, Friday, I think it kicks off. It's a 3-day. So we'll be there Saturday and Sunday. So we'll be wandering around the show. So feel free to come up and say hi. I know you don't know what we look like, but you'll probably figure it out pretty quickly. So we're going to be covering Wind Up. And then I think it's the first weekend in June, we're going to be covering a show called Couture Time out in Vegas. And that's actually got several really cool brands. So some of the big ones like Oris and Tag, and we're gonna have Longines out there, Maurice Lacroix, I mean, a bunch of really cool brands. So
and there's also a Red Bar event,
a Red Bar national event, and that's kind of how we found out about this, because we hang out with the Red Bar Sacramento chaps. They're all guys. You're the first.
I'm the
you're
only
the first
girl.
woman, but you're the trailblazer. So we're gonna hopefully get more females in Sacramento Red Bar. But there's a national Red Bar meetup, so we're gonna go out for that, and I'll be able to cover the show at the same time for wristwatch reviews. So that should be fun.
Something that I've noticed is that a lot of the men we've talked to, like with Red Bar, they wish their wives were into watches. So part of what I want to do is sort of introduce my perspective on watches, and I have a little bit different than the norm, you know, as far as a lot of the men's watches that I love, but I think I kind of have an idea of the psychology around women and watches, and maybe I can help shed light on that and get some of the men to introduce watches to their wives and maybe make it a hobby of theirs too.
Do you think they take you seriously when they first meet you as a watch collector? Or do you think they're
I
just,
think so.
they think that you're just hanging out with me?
Possibly think that I'm hanging out with you, but I think people would look at me and think I just want something with a bunch of diamonds on it, which I don't.
Right, with a cheap quartz movement and like 15 grand worth of
Right, which I don't.
gaudy diamonds on it.
Because most women don't, you know, and I'm not saying this to be sexist because I'm not sexist, but a lot of people in general don't know the difference between a quartz and an automatic to start. So,
Well, yeah, most folks that aren't into watches don't have a clue.
right.
They don't have a clue.
And I imagine a lot of women don't know the difference as well.
I mean, even when you're like buying a watch sometimes, you know, not like at a boutique or a authorized, you know, a high-end authorized dealer or something, but like if you're shopping for Bulovas at Macy's and you say, I want to see a mechanical, they're going to kind of give you the blank stare,
They
right?
do.
They don't know. They don't have any idea. And that's the whole thing with this podcast. I mean, not only is it, we're hoping that more women are going to listen, right? Because we're going to be talking, you're going to be talking a lot about the women's perspective on watches and how you feel about certain watches and where the market's going. I mean, I think we've kind of seen we're starting to see the industry put the brakes on the gigantic watches that we've seen for the last 10 years, right?
Well, and the industry assumes that women want X, Y, and Z only, which is not true. And they assume that women don't know a lot about watches.
Yeah, and that's actually, you know, we're hoping to start as the podcast grows, we're hoping to actually get some industry folks on the show to talk about that. And you know, I think it's clear when you look at some brands that the designs are all from guys, right? Their
Correct.
designers are male. They have
And their
very little
websites have other products that are just all for men only.
Yeah. But I think that's starting to change. I mean, some of these big shows now and at Basel World, I mean, a lot of them are starting to have female executives and female representatives. So I think it is starting to change, and hopefully we can help kind of bring that out and get more female listeners. And, you know, just for you guys, like PG was saying, for the guys out there that, you know, their wives maybe just, or their girlfriends just tolerate, you know, maybe they're just tolerating your watch collecting habit because they don't know what's out there. They don't understand that there are some actually really cool watches for women these days, right? I mean, you got companies like Oris that are coming out with 36 millimeter divers. I mean, that's awesome.
Right.
That's kind of the original size that divers used to be, right? If you talk about like
And brands like Tissot.
Yeah.
Tissot makes beautiful women's automatics, small ones that look like a dressy quartz, like women wear.
Yeah. So guys, listen to PG because she's going to be able to help you get that perfect watch for your significant other and maybe get him into the hobby with you.
And again, I'm not totally against quartz.
No, we're going to talk. We have a ton of quartz. I mean, we're going to talk about it all. But I guess the whole point is we really just want to help open this world up a little bit more to women and
learn as we learn,
and help the guys out there that don't really know how to shop. It's hard to shop for watches for your significant other. I mean, even you and I, that's pretty challenging because I have very specific tastes. You have very specific tastes.
which I'm learning though, because I really knocked it out of the park at Christmas. and for your birthday.
You did, yeah, with the turtle. That was pretty awesome. So we are learning, but a lot of guys out there I know, they don't have a clue, right? They they go out and they'll buy something that's got some diamonds on it and looks fancy, and we had a experience with some friends where he had to take it back because she just was not into it. So it's something that you learn, and we're hoping that's something that we can help you guys with. So I think that's it. I mean, we're actually coming up on 30 minutes here. We're about 25 minutes, so not too bad for our first one. So for the next one, we'll have we decided what we're covering in the next episode?
Should we list out just a little sneak preview?
Well,
Super
we
duper
have
brief?
some options. So I mean, we're obviously, one of our first episodes is going to be like about his and hers watches, and you and I have
like our
several of
collection?
those. Yeah, like we'll go out and buy kind of the same watch in different sizes or from the same brand but similar. And what else? We just jotted some ideas down. So one of those ideas, what we just talked about, is what do you buy for that someone that you kind of want to help bring along in the watch world. Maybe you just want them to understand,
like for a special gift,
why you like it, because we're kind of sick, right? All of us we're sick. I mean, we just keep buying watches, and it is a little bit of a disease, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there get a lot of grief about it. So that's something we're going to talk about. We're going to have a bunch of, I think, what we call our collection parts. So we'll have our collection part 1, part 2, part 3, where we'll just kind of go through and talk about some of the watches that we have in our collections. And so I think that's probably the biggest. We talked about Wind Up and Couture. Those will be separate shows. Maybe we'll even do some live Instagram video for you guys from the shows. So that'll just depend, I think, on how many followers we build up here in the next, these are coming up. So like in the next month. So follow Love and Watches. If you're following Ranch Racer or Perpetual Girl, get out there and find Love and Watches. Follow us. Tell your friends. Repost. Get our show out there, because we would love to be able to do some live stuff from the shows. So I think that's it.
It is.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, gals. We hopefully we got through this without too much difficulty, and we look forward to too many rookie mistakes. That's what post-processing's for, right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks. We enjoyed it and are looking forward to the next one. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.